is here on the Blaze Radio Network.
And thanks for joining us. 888-900-3393. Pat Unleashed on Twitter. President Trump just arrived in Saudi Arabia. Well, yesterday, right? And here's what happened there.
No, I mean, that was just a few hours ago.
Okay. Oh, it's just 30 minutes ago?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, they had a...
they got a horse procession to guide him in. That's kind of cool.
Was that Saudi Arabia's fighter jets that guided Air Force One in? I mean, that was pretty spectacular. The last half hour of the flight, they guided him home.
Nice.
Yeah, that's been a really...
That's quite a welcome, huh?
It has been a sight. Yeah.
Oh, and they got him lined up in their dress robes. Okay.
Those are the best ones.
Good, yeah. Those are nice. They got 1,000 people lined up in their big white robes. That's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. And the limo, that's an old-fashioned limo, too. Isn't
that the Beast?
Yes, it is
probably.
The Beast.
Yeah.
And they're hanging out there.
So they just must put that in the back of the Air Force One, huh?
Yes, sir. It travels with it. And Marine One.
Wow. Yeah. And Marine One? No, they can't get that. They get that in the helicopter? I didn't even know that. Interesting.
I got to fact check that.
No, they get the helicopter in Air Force One, not the Beast in Marine.
Oh, okay. I see.
Right, but yeah.
Okay. All right.
I was fact checking the Air Force One. I knew what you meant. Okay. I didn't realize that.
Huh. So they bring the helicopter and the limo in Air Force One. Sheesh. You wouldn't think there'd be room for that, would you? I mean, speaking of which, we still got the controversy brewing over the new Air Force One and what that's going to be. But yesterday, after the show, more of the details kind of filtered in. When you get the full story, makes kind of a difference. President Trump doesn't give a rat's anus about what I think about this thing, but I still wouldn't accept anything from Qatar. They fund and support Hamas and Hezbollah. They can't be trusted. But I get it. I get the fact that he ordered this thing. Apparently in 2018, he ordered a new Air Force One because this one is at least 40 years old, maybe older. So he orders this thing, and then Biden becomes president. So they put it on the shelf. And now they say they can't deliver a new Air Force One until 2035? That's insane.
Is this America still?
How could it take 17 years to build an airplane?
Wow.
What has happened to Boeing? Yeah. Boeing got, I think it was a $3.9 billion contract with the government to make these things. Almost $4 billion. And they say that's not enough. Yeah, we need more. What? Come on. I mean, I understand. Air Force One is a special plane. It's retrofitted with weaponry, defense, who knows what all is. We don't know because it's top secret. But it's known that there's some special things on Air Force One, right? So that if it's ever attacked, it can defend itself. But that's ridiculous. $4 billion for a plane? And I heard it might be two planes. Even if it is two planes, that's insanity. So when Qatar comes to him and says, hey, you know what? We've got this plane. It's luxury. It's nice. You could retrofit it with whatever you need. We'll give it to you. $400 million plane. We'll give it to you. Okay. What are you going to say? Well, Trump's going to say yes, probably, if it's just up to him. But, and I think it is up to him, frankly. Does he have to listen to people and our concerns about Qatar? No, he doesn't have to.
Again, I'm worried about what they're going to put on that plane before they hand it over.
It will be built out of listening devices. It's probably not a great idea.
Yeah, and for the record, I'm not finding anywhere that Marine One flies on Air Force One. I'd like to see that, though.
I would, too.
I'd like to see them take that out.
That's impressive, if it can fit.
But I can definitely tell you it doesn't fit inside the Beast. That we've established.
Okay. You're sure about that one?
That one I'm not even Googling.
Okay. Wow.
But the beast came on Air Force One.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Because he was driving it around.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. And there's a lot of defense mechanisms on that, too. And that's why they take it everywhere with them, because not a lot of limo services are equipped to protect the president of the United States. So, but anyway, he's going to be in Riyadh for the next 3 days, Riyadh, and I think he's going to Qatar and United Arab Emirates, and he might go to Turkey for the meeting between Zelensky and Putin.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
He just shows up, hey, boys.
Yeah. He said if they want him there, he'll go if they think it'll help. And Zelensky's already posted that, we'd appreciate you being there. Yeah, I'm sure he would appreciate that, because I can't imagine he and Putin getting along real well in the room together, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. If he goes to Turkey, I think there's a pretty good chance that he can maybe get something resolved here. Zelensky also tried to put up a condition for this meeting, and that's that there be a ceasefire going into it. I don't think they've achieved that. But this Middle East trip is pretty ambitious, because what he wants to do is bring an end to the Ukraine-Russian war and bring an end to the Israeli-Hamas war. So if he can accomplish that, they won't even talk about him for a Nobel Peace Prize, but he'll deserve it. There's just no doubt about that. I mean, Barack Obama got the Nobel Prize 2 weeks into his first term. He hadn't done anything yet. Except maybe bring in some statues of Karl Marx to put around the Oval Office. I think he had accomplished that. But other than that, what did he ever do in his whole presidency, let alone the first 14 days, to deserve a Nobel Prize? Come on. Unbelievable. So, the hatred for Donald Trump precludes any kind of praise like that, though. The other thing that happened, as far as a peacemaker and a guy who gets things done, he brought home, or is bringing home, the last American hostage that's alive. I think his name is it Edan Alexander?
The way his mom said it was Edan.
Edan?
The way it sounded.
Okay. Edan Alexander.
Yeah. I mean, look, he's already
coming home. He's already been released.
Well, he thanked Trump there on the flight. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's great.
Yeah, that was.
And there he is.
Original photo. Yeah. The Red Cross there. Yeah.
It's cute that that they posed with him.
Yeah, he got a police escort.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
People are
the
idiots.
douchebags from Hamas.
Yeah, let's see his mom hearing his voice for the first time since October 2023. Phone call. Yeah, Witkoff gets him on the phone.
Oh my God, Edan!
Look at that.
Edan?
Wow.
Edan? No.
Incredible.
אתה בחוץ, נשמה שלי, אתה בחוץ.
I mean,
זהו,
special
זהו,
moment.
אני פה,
Imagine it.
אני
Yeah, I
מחכה
cannot.
לך.
Can't even imagine
Yeah.
it. If that was one of my son's daughters, any of my children, holy mackerel. And you've been waiting for a year and a half
About
for
what
this
this
to happen.
deal,
Wait,
which
not
was
that
broke.
one. No.
Jeez.
Do you have it when... Oh, that's not in the order here. Okay, shoot. Well, we had another one where he actually met with his family, but I'm not seeing that on here now. Oh, shoot.
I see it here. But, on the other sheet?
Yeah, I'm not seeing it there.
We got like 9 sheets, and we have to match them up and synchronize them, and synchronize our watches before the show.
Oh,
and
wow.
I don't think we synchronized before the
I don't
show
think you
today.
guys did.
Dang it! Darn it!
Yeah. Well, if we do get
Anyway,
that later,
really
it's
cool.
Very emotional. He meets with his mom and his dad. We
Yeah.
got to get that in the system there, and his brother and sister. And it's so emotional, and you tear up watching it. And I'll make sure that we get that. But I'm
hard to
watching
believe
that, and I'm
that-
thinking to myself, I don't want cameras there. I'm getting reunited with my kid.
Yeah, that's true.
I just
I don't think I'd like that
y'all
either.
can wait.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think they really had a choice, if just because it all happened right there. Anyway.
And by the way,
Find
the last living American hostage, and of course, we don't, like I mentioned yesterday, we don't pay any attention to that. Nobody talks about it. Nobody says, why are these people dead? What happened here?
Yeah.
Why aren't there severe consequences for this?
And they have the 4 bodies still of Americans.
Right. They haven't even returned the remains. I think there's 58 remaining hostages for Israel. And I don't know how many are alive. But, man, this thing has gone on way too long. Yep. But even CNN had to give credit to President Trump for this release. Okay.
About what this deal, which was brokered not by the Israeli government, but by the United States to get this American citizen out of Gaza, what it means for the other hostages who don't have American citizenship, who just have, in many cases, Israeli citizenship. And there is certainly hope that perhaps this agreement to release Edan Alexander could unlock a broader deal to secure the release of all of the other hostages, to perhaps end the war in Gaza, or at least to get to some kind of a ceasefire that will see hostages coming out of the Gaza Strip, and of course much needed calm in Gaza and much needed aid to go into the Gaza Strip for the more than 2 million civilians who live there. We know that tomorrow an Israeli delegation will be traveling to Doha, Qatar to try and work on that broader negotiation. And all of this, of course, is happening because of enormous diplomatic effort and pressure that is now being brought to bear by the United States and by President Trump, who said that he very much sees this release of Edan Alexander as a first of the final steps towards ending this war in Gaza and releasing all of the remaining hostages held there.
Hey, just a direct.
Okay. You notice, though, that he tried not to say Donald Trump in there. It's just the U.S. government. The U.S. government did this because there's nobody else to credit here, so they got to place it somewhere. And they're actually trying to avoid any credit to Donald Trump.
Oh, did he not say Trump there?
I don't think he did.
Oh, I thought he did.
Play the last 30 seconds. Maybe he mentioned it there, and I missed it at the end. But he kept saying the U.S. government brought pressure to bear. So if you can.
An Israeli delegation will be traveling to Doha, Qatar to try and work on that broader negotiation. And all of this, of course, is happening because of enormous diplomatic effort and pressure that is now being brought to bear by the United States and by President Trump.
Oh, no, he did say it. He said it by the United States and by President Trump. How about that? Well, good. Congratulations. Really kind of forced into it there, but that's great. And, seriously, how much great negotiating has he done? I know that they try to spin it, especially if you ever go to the Drudge Report, which you shouldn't do anymore because it's one of the worst publications. It's one of the worst websites on the planet now. All it is anti-Trump garbage. Anti-Republican, anti-Trump, and they spin everything
that makes
negative.
Me think that somebody, and I don't know this, but it feels like somebody made Matt Drudge an offer he can't refuse and left them to do what they will with the site.
Wonder. I'd love to know what happened there because
there's got to be some sort of non-disclosure agreement, and he's living on an island somewhere, just rolling in his cash.
I mean, he's always been reclusive, so maybe it's just that. But as far as I know, he hasn't been seen in years, and nobody knows if he sold the Drudge Report or not. As far as I understand, nobody knows.
That's a long way from the Rockefeller gift shop.
Holy cow!
Yeah, that is incredible. That life he has lived.
It is,
Matt Drudge.
It is, and what a 180 ideologically that the Drudge Report has done. Just completely opposite from what it used to be. But anyway, they've spun even the market going up. And their spin on that is that Trump caved again. Trump caved. Chinese get their way. That's not what happened. He said all along he's going to readjust this because you can't continue this forever with China. He's been negotiating with them, and it's worked. But, yeah, he's not going to get any credit.
Yeah, here's that video of the family real quick. I don't know if it's been, or I guess we'll do it after the break, after the sponsorship here.
Let me tell you about real estate agents I trust. because they do such a great job for all of their clients. It's a tough situation when you're selling your house, when you're buying a house, when you're doing both for relocation purposes. So you need somebody by your side who's going to help you relieve all that stress and make really important decisions that, frankly, you might not know which way to go on a lot of different things. I know that we didn't when we were considering selling our house. We were advised by a contractor to completely remodel our master bathroom and the kitchen. But our realtor said, no, don't do that. You won't get your money back. You do need to replace the countertops, update those, and a few other things, which we did. And it saved us a fortune and made us money in the sale. That's what you need, is somebody who can steer you in the right direction on all of these things and help relieve that stress and that pressure so that it's a good experience for you. And you get the most for your home or the most home for your dollar. And find the best neighborhoods, best school districts, all those things you're looking for, you'll find. Real Estate Agents I Trust, the name says it all. realestateagentsitrust.com.
Pat Gray, Unleashed.
All right, so this is the reunification with the family. Oh, wow. That's really cool.
Yeah. She thought he was dead.
Oh, did she?
Yeah. Because remember, about a few months ago, there was talk they were going to release him, and then they didn't, and then. Back home to New Jersey now.
That's really nice.
God.
Now we just need to see that 58 more times with the remaining hostages that are still there and really don't get any coverage. Nobody talks about it. You know, it's been a year and a half, and these people have mostly been abandoned until now with Donald Trump because he cares. And he's the only one who talks about it. How many times did Joe Biden ever talk about this? How many times? Did he put in any effort in that regard? I don't think so. Not that I know of. And you would think, you would be aware of the president because he's quoted on everything he ever says and does. And there was scant little coverage of what the hostages were going through. Yesterday at the White House, the president, before he left on his tour of the Middle East, he signed an executive order to lower the price of prescription drugs. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. He started off with a story about a friend of his.
I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine who's a businessman, very, very, very top guy. Most of you would have heard of him. A highly neurotic, brilliant businessman, seriously overweight, and he takes the fat shot drug.
The fat shot drug.
And he called me up and he said, President, he calls me, he used to call me Donald, now he calls me President, so that's nice respect. But he's a rough guy, smart guy, very successful, very rich. I wouldn't even know how we would know this, but because he's got comments. Said, President, could I ask you a question? What? I'm in London. And I just paid for this damn fat drug I take. I said, it's not working. He said, I just paid $88. And in New York, I pay $1,300. What the hell is going on?
Wow. For the fat drug.
Fat drug.
I would think probably some people take issue with that. It does work, but that's a big difference. $1,300 in New York, $88 in London.
Fat shot. It's not working. That's good stuff.
Oh, man. And he discussed why drugs here are so high in the United States.
Starting today, the United States will no longer subsidize the health care of foreign countries, which is what we were doing. We're subsidizing others' health care. Countries where they paid a small fraction of what for the same drug that what we pay many, many times more for. And we'll no longer tolerate profiteering and price gouging from Big Pharma.
And he had more on that.
So for the first time in many years, we'll slash the cost of prescription drugs, and we will bring fairness to America. Drug prices will come down by much more, really, if you think 59. If you think of a drug that is sometimes 10 times more expensive, it's much more than the 59%. It depends on the way you want to analyze it, but in one way you could analyze it that way. But between 59 and 80, and I guess even 90%. So when I worked so hard in the first term, and if I got prices down, remember I was the only one to ever get prices down for a full year, but I'd get them down like 2%, and I thought it was like a big deal. Well, we're getting them down 60, 70, 80, 90%, but actually more than that if you think about it in the way mathematically. And Farmer has to say, we're sorry, but we'll not be able to do this any longer to these countries that have been so tough. They've been very tough, nasty. It's trade. It's trade. Mm-hmm. And Pharma is also very powerful, and the Democrats have protected Pharma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, while they complain about him on one hand, and then
do they anymore?
And not anymore. Yeah, they used to.
Yeah, those days are gone.
While they're accepting all of the campaign donations from them, then they go out and complain about him. But they do their bidding behind closed doors. HHS Secretary RFK Jr. also spoke at the signing.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is an extraordinary day. This is an issue that, I grew up in the Democratic Party, and every major Democratic leader for 20 years has been making this promise to the American people. This was the fulcrum of Bernie Sanders' runs for presidency, that he was going to eliminate this discrepancy between Europe and the United States. But as it turns out, none of them were doing it. It's one of these promises that politicians make to their constituents, knowing that they'll never have to do it. And the reason they'll never have to do it is because they know that Congress is controlled in so many ways by the pharmaceutical industry. There's at least one pharmaceutical lobbyist for every congressman, every senator in Capitol Hill, and every member of the Supreme Court. By some estimates, 3. Pharmaceutical companies, the industry itself spends 3 times what the next largest lobbyist spends on lobbying. So this was an issue that people talked about, but nobody wanted to do anything because it was radioactive. They knew you couldn't get it by Congress. We now have a president who is a man of his word, who has the courage. President Trump was taking money from the pharmaceutical industry, too. I think they gave you $100 million. But he can't be bought, unlike most of the politicians in this country. And he is standing here for the American people.
That's interesting.
You just hope that, like everything else, Trump is signing as an executive order.
It's backed up and codified by the Congress. Yeah. Will they do that, though? I doubt it.
And then 4 years from now...
It just goes right back to where it was. But how do you spin this negative? He's trying to lower prescription drug prices, which is one of the biggest complaints of people in this country, by 80%. How do you spin that negative? They will. I'm just kind of wondering how you accomplish that this time. It'll be interesting to see if Congress can do anything with it, because they're certainly not taking advantage of the Doge cuts. They're not going to codify that. This is the problem with the Republican Party. They won't do anything, even when they have the majority. I don't know what the deal is, but it's every single time they have the chance, because they've got the majority in the House and the Senate and the presidency, and they still can't get anything done.
Yeah. You're not going to like the latest on the... there's some good news in the big, beautiful bill. It is going to have no tax on overtime and no tax on tips. I think it doesn't have a provision that would eliminate taxes on Social Security, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. But you're going to love this part. It's apparently the House version wants to raise the debt ceiling by $4 trillion. The Senate wants $5 trillion. We'll see.
Gosh.
But the goal is to fund the government through next year's midterms, of course.
Wow.
And the last thing I'll say on that is Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, says that right now we are on pace to run out of money in mid-August, I think it is, somewhere in August, which, of course, is when the Congress is again on vacation.
Yeah, good. So that works out really well for
these
them.
people, man.
I do think they decided not to put in tax increase for the wealthy, though.
I don't know. The latest
I
version.
think that they backed off that.
Good,
if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know. We should get a copy of the bill and go over it because there's a lot of stuff in there that's it's not good. I mean, some of it is, but a lot of it, Republicans, Democrats, just sticking it in there.
I mean, you're going to lose, and he hasn't said this to my knowledge. I'll have to check his feed. But, I mean, Thomas Massey won't vote for this, but Democrats will if it increases spending.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah. And it does. I'm sure it does.
Oh, yeah.
It's not even a cut in our spending, which is mind-boggling. Again, they never do what we want them to do. Never. Also yesterday, before he left, the president discussed the trade negotiations with China, which the mainstream media is really trying to spin negative. Here's what he had to say about it.
In addition, yesterday we achieved a total reset with China after productive talks in Geneva. Both sides now agreed to reduce the tariffs imposed after April 2nd to 10% for 90 days as negotiators continue in the largest structural issues. And I want to tell you that a couple of things. First of all, that doesn't include the tariffs that are already on, that are our tariffs. And it doesn't include tariffs on cars, steel, aluminum, things such as that, or tariffs that may be imposed on pharmaceuticals, because we want to bring the pharmaceutical businesses back to the United States, and they're already starting to come back now based on tariffs because they don't want to pay 25, 50, or 100% tariffs, so they're moving them back to the United States. I spoke to Tim Cook this morning, and he's going to, I think, even up his numbers, $500 billion. He's going to be building a lot of plants in the United States for Apple, and we look forward to that. I really do look forward to that. But the talks in Geneva were very friendly. The relationship is very good. We're not looking to hurt China. China was being hurt very badly. They were closing up factories. They were having a lot of unrest. And they were very happy to be able to do something with us. And the relationship is very, very good. I'll speak to President Xi maybe at the end of the week. We have some other things we're doing.
Okay. We'll get to what Bessent had to say. He had some information about it, too. First, let me tell you about these, the Kexi cookies. Come in a box that looks a little something like this. And these are cookies that were not made by elves in a hollow tree. First of all, that's a real safety hazard.
And a sanitary issue.
Sanitary, safety. It's not right to make your cookies in a hollow tree. Doesn't make any sense. A lot of bugs in there.
Right.
But secondly, that process apparently makes the cookies hard and crumbly and kind of icky. But Kexi cookies are huge, soft, gourmet, delicious, made with only the finest ingredients. And these are made in a kitchen that humans work in. No elves involved whatsoever. No safety hazard at all. And the sugar lemon is just one of my favorites.
My favorite cookie.
Is it your favorite?
Yes, sir.
So good. I mean, you will not believe how good this thing is.
I'm doing the white chocolate strawberry right now for breakfast.
Oh, for breakfast? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a breakfast of champions right there.
Balanced meal.
Got the snickerdoodle here. We've got this. So many delicious flavors. You're going to love Kexi cookies. Just go to Kexi.com. Order yours today. That's Kexi, Kexi.com. All right, we got to get to what Scott Bessent had to say on the dealings with China, because a lot is going on right now. President Trump and his administration are making some things happen.
This is Pat Gray Unleashed.
munching on this sugar lemon cookie.
Right, breakfast.
Oh my God.
I know.
It is so delicious.
That's my favorite one.
I just can't, it's not probably ideal for me to be, as a diabetic, to be eating
at 6:36 in the morning? No.
And yet, I can't stop. That's how good it is. Ugh. Anyway, we got...
So be warned when you buy the cookies.
Yes, you'll want to eat them all. Let me tell you about some of these tweets. We got this from Jimmy Dimples. CNN gave credit to Trump for his efforts negotiating for the hostages. I'm almost tempted to give credit to CNN. Almost. And Mr. Sean's drudge a shift in political philosophy stinks of a George Soros payoff.
Wow, that's a great theory.
That could be.
Mr. Sean's, yes. Oh my gosh, I never thought of that.
Could be. And, it also could be that he just flat out sold it to Soros or somebody like him.
I mean, that's what he's saying.
Other than just a bankroll and, hey, here's an infusion of cash into your company.
Right.
Just flat out bought it.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been nice if if that did happen, some sort of announcement, but nope.
That's probably part of the deal.
Yeah.
We're trying to influence minds on the down low, so you don't say a thing, and here's your however many millions of dollars.
And all kinds of conservatives come to this website, so we just won't tell them we made a switch here.
Yep.
And they'll just come and ingest this stuff. It'd be smart to do, really. I bet that's exactly what happened.
And I was corrected. A C-117 flies ahead to bring Marine One if it's needed with fuel trucks.
Oh. Okay, if it's needed.
If it's needed.
So apparently, that doesn't happen all the time, right?
I know when he went to London, Air Force One came with.
Okay. Yeah, Air Force One?
Marine One.
Marine One.
Marine One came in.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who is, of course, the head of the gays, he added some information to U.S. dealings with China. We heard from President Trump a few minutes ago. Here's what Bessent had to say about the deal.
What has to happen is it has to be fair for the American people. But in January 2020,
listen to this.
President Trump produced a template. We had an excellent trade agreement with China, and the Biden administration chose not to enforce it. The Chinese delegation basically told us that once President Biden came into office, they just ignored their obligations. So, we already have a large framework. The other thing to remember here, Jonathan, is that this is a pause down to 10%. The April 2nd level for China is 34%. So we will be working to see where their final reciprocal number ends up. And the negotiations are a combination of tariffs, non-tariff trade barriers, currency manipulation, and subsidies of labor and capital.
So it's pretty complicated. And there's a lot to consider.
But I think what's not complicated is that Joe Biden sucks and he sold out America in the face of the Chinese. Did you catch that? Mm-hmm. We had a deal, and then they were like, we're just not going to follow through in it. And Biden was just like, okay. Wow.
Incredible. Sure is. And on how many issues did that happen?
Right.
Not just trade. That happened across the board, would be my guess.
Yeah, and how many different countries? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because he's an America last guy. He doesn't even consider America in his calculations. Also, a group of 59 white South African refugees arrived yesterday. Oh, because they're white. Yeah, now you want refugees because they're white.
Well, if blacks would stop murdering them where they sleep.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to. Here's a country that really has a refugee issue. Somebody who really needs asylum.
Yep.
Because they're being murdered, literally murdered on their farms and things. This is a situation where you would say, yeah. And I just saw, somebody on the left complaining about this because here's a bunch of other people we don't know. They could be felons. Mm-hmm. We're flying them in. We are going over their information before they're coming here legally. So it's a kind of a big difference when you can control how they get here, who comes, they've obviously vetted these people to make sure they're not felons.
Yeah, and everybody up there was born after apartheid. So don't say, well, they participated in it, because look how young they are.
Right.
I mean,
right.
It's
asinine. The left is just, they're completely out of control. And so here they were after landing in Virginia yesterday.
We just showed that video.
Oh, okay. That was the video?
Yep.
That was exciting.
Wasn't it, though?
Yeah, because they stood there.
They stood there, yeah.
But then
they were greeted.
They stood there some more.
And waved their flags over the American flag.
Yeah, I forgot about that part.
Not just standing.
That was super exciting.
And waving.
Okay. Now, of course, President Trump was asked, why are they being allowed into the U.S.?
Because they're being killed. And
there you go.
We don't want to see people be killed. Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, we're supposed to have I guess, a G20 meeting there or something. But we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of. But it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. But it's a terrible thing that's taking place. And farmers are being killed.
Yeah.
They happen to be white. But whether they're white or black makes no difference to me. But white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. And the newspapers and the media, television media, doesn't even talk about it. If it were the other way around, they'd talk about it.
Yep.
That would be the only story they'd talk about.
That's so true.
I don't care who they are. I don't care about their race, their color. I don't care about their height, their weight. I don't care about anything. I just know that what's happening is terrible. I have people that live in South Africa. They say it's a terrible situation taking place. So we've essentially extended citizenship to those people to escape from that violence and come here.
Wow.
That was a huge topic, if you recall, just before the pandemic.
Right.
And then
it kind of went away.
Yep.
Yeah. But I do remember talking about that and pointing out the fact that, yes, it's happening, and it's obviously still happening. We just haven't paid any attention to it because the mainstream media doesn't touch it. They don't care about it at all because these people, to them, are the wrong color.
Yeah, I thought R.N. McIntyre had a great point on Twitter last night. Biden can drop half of Haiti into Ohio, but 60 white refugees from a state that sings about murdering them is a scandal. Good point.
Such a great point. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. So you know what's coming. You know this is going to be good.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, bro.
He explained to the press why this group of refugees is being allowed in.
What's happening in South Africa fits the textbook definition of why the refugee program was created. This is persecution based on a protected characteristic, in this case, race. So this is race-based persecution. The refugee program is not intended as a solution for global poverty. And historically, it has been used that way. Wherever there's global poverty or wherever there's dysfunctional governments, then the U.S. refugee program comes in, swoops people up, relocates them to America, and you have multi-generational problems. You even into the second and third generation, you have endemic poverty, you have crime issues, you have integration issues. The U.S. refugee program in America has been a catastrophic failure. I mean, if you look, for example, at the Twin Cities area, just in terms of markers of educational outcomes, in terms of public safety, in terms of welfare use, I mean, it's been a complete public policy failure. And so this is an example of the president returning the refugee program to what it was intended to be used as.
As a side note here, the Episcopal Church has said it won't help resettle these refugees because they're committed to racial justice and reconciliation.
Yeah, whitey don't qualify for that.
What?
Right. Yeah.
Because they're white. They won't do anything to help them.
Yep, and so they are in protest, going to finish doing the projects that they're working on with the government as far as resettling people, and then they're out because of this, because it was helping white people.
We're going to show you how NBC covered this in just a second. But first, let me tell you about preborn. This is probably the most important thing. Not probably. This is the most important thing we talk about. And when a mother comes in with an unplanned pregnancy, and she's trying to decide the future of her unborn child. It's overwhelming. She wants to make the right choice, but society and everybody around her probably are telling her that her baby is not a life. It's a clump of cells. Preborn's whole ministry is to love these women and empower them with the choice of life. And it's an eternal moment. Meet Briella, who was ready to take the abortion pill and end her pregnancy. But when the abortion pill never came, she decided to go to a pregnancy clinic. After receiving a free ultrasound provided by Preborn, her eternal moment happened. Not only did her baby live, but then she realized that this was the baby boy she'd prayed for. When you support Preborn, you're supporting pro-life clinics nationwide with free ultrasounds to help empower a mother to choose life. Your tax-deductible donation of $28 a month is reaching eternity. To get involved, just dial pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby, or just go to preborn.com/Pat. That's preborn.com/Pat.
Pat Gray Unleashed.
Okay, so NBC News. How did they cover the new arrivals from South Africa? Check this out.
They got this big celebration, and these are the only, white African descendants of apartheid, the European colonials, or those who participated in apartheid. They're of all ages, including children.
South Africa says that the allegations about persecution of these people, the allegations are false, according to the South Africans. What?
Oh, well, according to the South Africans, no, we're not persecuting anybody. What do you expect them to say, you moron? Jeez. If you would have asked the Rwandan government when genocide was taking place, hey, are you guys committing genocide? You think, yeah, we are. When you ask Germany, hey, are you murdering Jews by the millions? Yeah, we are. No, they didn't. That's not what they said. Well, the South Africans said no. So we're done here. I guess nothing to see. Move along. They said no.
That's almost like the, oh my goodness.
My gosh.
The Iraq, what did they say back the we're not hiding any weapons of mass destruction. They said no. Oh, wait, no, that one turned out right. Never mind. Sorry. Bad example.
I mean, there were weapons of mass destruction, just not in the numbers we thought.
Exactly.
Right. Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said this about immigration in his country yesterday.
Let me put it this way. Nations depend on rules, fair rules. Sometimes they're written down, often they're not. But either way, they give shape to our values, guide us towards our rights, of course, but also our responsibilities. The obligations we owe to each other. Now, in a diverse nation like ours, and I celebrate that, these rules become even more important. Without them, we risk becoming an island of strangers, not a nation that walks forward together. So when you have an immigration system that seems almost designed to permit abuse, that encourages some businesses to bring in lower paid workers rather than invest in our young people, or simply one that is sold by politicians to the British people on an entirely false premise, then you're not championing growth, you're not championing justice, or however else people defend the status quo. You're actually contributing to the forces that are slowly pulling our country apart. So yes, I believe in this. I believe we need to reduce immigration significantly.
What? Wait, what?
I'm
what
done.
Kind of hateful, xenophobic, racist rhetoric is that?
Keir Starmer 5 years ago, quote, "We need to make a wider case on immigration. We welcome migrants, not scapegoat them."
Oh, wow.
That's 180 degrees different
Sure
right there.
is.
I think it's the Trump effect. And I think it also applies to Germany, where Rebecca Mr. Egan, who does the Friday live stream with me on my X channel, she reports this morning that, remember, J.D. Vance kept telling Germany, hey, maybe you could stop monitoring your political opponents and labeling them far-right extremists. Well, they have rescinded that designation of the AfD party over there and ended the surveillance of them. That's fascinating.
Yes,
Trump
it is.
effect.
Yes, indeed. Well, they're complaining about it, but he's having an impact, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, apparently, the U.S. global popularity has supposedly gone down since President Trump and tariffs. The United States is becoming less popular globally in the aftermath of Donald Trump's return to the White House, according to new data.
Good.
The 2025 Democracy Perception Index summarizes attitudes toward democracy, geopolitics, and global power players, and canvassed more than 110,000 respondents across 100 countries. A majority of people surveyed had an overall negative perception of the U.S., marking a steep decline from last year. Took a particular hit in EU countries, perhaps unsurprisingly, since President Trump called the European bloc, horrible, pathetic, and formed to screw the United States.
That's a fact.
But I guess in this case, I guess we should continue to bend over for them, right? And take everything they want to dish out to us so that they'll continue to like us more. Which they didn't like us anyway. They like taking advantage of us. They like it when we do bend over for them. But I don't care if they like us better or less. I couldn't care less, actually, what the Europeans think of us.
Less of them will come over here now?
I hope so.
Guess okay.
I hope so.
Like that.
Jeez. I mean, of course, right now, if you're going to survey people, because Trump is pushing back on all of the unfairness that's been going on with trade, all the unfairness that's been going on with us carrying the entire defense load for the Western world. Yeah, he's pushing back on that now. So, yeah, they're not happy about it. Tough. We go to the tough act again. Tough. That's just too bad. Cry us a river, will you? 888-900-3393. More Pat Gray Unleashed coming up.
Pat Gray Unleashed.
Pat Gray is here on the Blaze Radio Network.
Yeah, welcome to it. Let me remind you that grilling season is here. Can I do that? Since it's going to be 100 degrees.
Oh, no.
In
yes, it is.
The Dallas-Fort Worth
102,
Metroplex,
I think.
Today. And 107 tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yes.
So it's time to get outside and flip a steak once, claim victory. But let's be honest, if you're grilling with some kind of sad, flavorless grocery store beef, you're losing. Your grill knows when you're holding back. You wouldn't take your significant other to a cheap steakhouse, so why throw a cheap steak on those grates? If you want to keep the fire alive, get real Texas-raised beef from Tri-Tails Beef. No weak cuts. No corporate fillers, just pasture-raised, grain-finished Black Angus beef straight from the ranch to your door. I love the way it arrives, too. It is packaged so well with the dry ice so that it's, really frozen nicely when it gets there, so it's going to be fresh when you thaw it and cook it. Love these. They're delicious. Never been disappointed with a Tri-Tails steak. When you order right now, anything over $349, you'll get a free choice New York strip. So just go to trybeef.com/PatGrills. That's trybeef, T-R-Y, beef.com/PatGrills. Your grill will thank you.
Gray
Indeed.
returns.
I do. The deplorable Mr. Jackwagon tweets, now I don't want to see Twitter handles changing to Jeffy's fat shot.
Oh, we don't need that.
We're going to see that. I can guarantee.
What?
Jeffy's
No.
fat
No
shot.
way. He just said,
From
"Don't
this
do
audience?
that."
Yeah, he did
No.
say don't do that. He
Don't.
did. Which has reminded people that they must do that.
Jeffy's fat shot.
Because fat shaming is not tolerated on Pat Gray Unleashed. Thank you for remembering, noticing.
And never will be tolerated.
Reminding. Yeah, it never will be tolerated. That's true.
It'd be wrong.
So what will happen if you do put Jeffy's fat shot? We'd have to just ignore it, probably, right?
And then you'd put in parentheses if you said it's not working. That would also be unacceptable.
Unacceptable on a show that does not fat shame. We do not abide fat
we're
shaming.
bigger than that. I mean, not as big. Never mind.
Fury and energy, Pat. I need you to put the hard H on white moving forward so I can really feel the racial hatred. Thanks. White. From Lone Wolf 2965, it doesn't sound like the Episcopal Church is loving their neighbors as themselves.
Does not.
No, it sure doesn't, does it? I mean, just because they're white, we're not going to help them resettle. Oh, well, that's very Christ-like of you. Not. On Friday night, Bill Maher had DNC Vice Chair David Hogg on his program.
That's a ratings winner, am I right?
Oh, you are right. I can't wait to hear. Here's how that interview started.
You're done very well. No, you're only 25, and you're the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. Very impressive. What does that job entail?
So that job really helps to play a role in managing a lot of what the DNC focuses on, which is things like the presidential primary. It's helping to be the campaign and waiting for the president. It's helping to manage the debate schedule and helping to support our state parties and local parties around the country. It's a volunteer role, I should add, as well. So it's entirely volunteer capacity.
So nothing. I was hoping for but why am I?
Yeah, that's good stuff.
That was funny.
Yeah.
That was funny. So
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah. That's what you do. Nothing. So this is interesting. Yesterday, the DNC started the process to remove David Hogg from his role as vice chair, saying the vote didn't properly follow parliamentary procedure.
Yeah, this is so interesting. This was a complaint filed by someone who didn't win the vice chairmanship back in February. They filed it back then, and they haven't done anything with that until now. It's interesting. And so David Hogg, this affects him and Representative Malcolm Kenyatta, Pennsylvania state rep. So they both are now under the scrutiny, and they're going to the article I read said by the end of the year they hope to have this all sorted out. Like they might
By
do a
the end of the
revote.
year?
It's so weird.
Wow.
There is something going on, a power struggle behind the scenes between the old guard and the new guard in the Democrat Party.
Yep.
And David Hogg could. I love how though Democrats are so concerned about the sacredness of their party's vote for vice chairman. But when irregularities happen for a presidential election, they're like, what? What are you talking about? It's fine if you.
Right.
It's a big lie if you say it wasn't on the up and up.
No primary at all.
And that
for
too.
Kamala Harris.
That too. They
No
are
primary at all.
Wow.
So,
okay.
I mean, the Democrats are coming apart at the seams. So here's James Lee and Rudolph Ware explaining what's behind the Bernie Sanders anti-oligarchy tour.
Fascinating.
You talked about the Democrats a bunch there, so I wanted to ask you, do you have any comments about the Fight the Oligarchy tour that Bernie is on? I know what their stated goal is, but what do you think their actual goal is, if it's different than the stated goal?
Excellent. So Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, they have one function. Their function is to keep an independent third party from emerging. That is their job. That is why they are out there on speaking tours. That's what the uncommitted movement was about in 2024. They always create these sheepdog movements that are designed to shepherd people back onto the Democrat plantation. That's their job. 2016, Bernie energizes a certain group and then hands them off to Hillary. 2020, energizes that group, hands them off to Biden. 2024, both Bernie and AOC say you have to vote for Killer Kamala. So fool me once, shame on me. Fool me 2 times, fool me 3 times, fool me 4 times. How many times do they get to run this game?
Wow.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. That's very interesting. Huh.
That's a hot take.
Yeah, it is. 888-900-3393. Apparently, some Catholics are starting to be a little more comfortable with the new pope. Have you heard that? It seems to be a little bit of a groundswell. But they're also saying that he deliberately downplayed being American so that he could win the papacy. And that must have worked. And, again, I'm not Catholic, but it seems to me if you want it that bad, you're not the right guy for the job. I'd love to hear from Catholics, though, to get an idea of how you're feeling about Pope Leo XIV. Better? Worse? Or about the same as Pope Francis? I don't know. There's some different theories. Some conservatives apparently have a little bit of hope for this new pope because one of the things that they're citing is he spoke in Latin, and that puts conservative Catholics at ease. E pluribus unum. There, can I be pope now?
Ooh, thank you, Pat.
Sorry.
Caveat emptor.
Sorry.
Now I'm super mega Doppler Catholic Pope material, I think, right?
I think you're a little late. You needed to do
Am
that
I?
last week.
Oh, yeah.
If you had done that a week ago, you had a
I could have been
chance.
Pope.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what Jevy lacked. He didn't do any Latin.
Yep.
Yeah. I guess, in fairness, though, he also asked for advice from some of the cardinals, and apparently Pope Francis didn't really do that much. He was like a unilateral decision kind of guy. And he did declare at one point that there are only 2 genders a decade and a half ago. And I think, was this 2013? Is this 2012? Is this the one we have?
This is not.
This is not that?
To do with that.
Okay. But yeah, a while ago, he said something about there just being 2 genders.
What a crazy stance for anyone, especially someone high up in the Catholic Church, to go way out on a limb and suggest there's only 2 genders.
Yeah.
But that's where we're at in the world.
That is indeed where we are. And of course, the LGBTQIA2 plus people are pissed off about it. They're already upset that they unearthed this comment that he made, I think in 2013, about there being 2 genders. And so now they're all freaked out about it. And the article says that after years of sympathetic and inclusive comments from Pope Francis, LGBTQ plus Catholics expressed concern on Thursday about hostile remarks made more than a decade ago by Father Robert Prevost. Look, I'm sorry, but stating your actual religious beliefs is not hostile to the gay and trans community.
Wow.
The doctrine is the doctrine. Truth is truth. Just because you don't agree with it or because you don't subscribe to it, that doesn't make it hostile. If you believe in God and you believed that something goes against God's will, let's say you believe that 2,000 years ago or 1,000,000 years ago, then you believe it's still the case today because God doesn't change. If he did, he would cease to be God. And no amount of kicking or screaming by any special interest group can change that. He doesn't conform to our ways. We conform to his. So
these
it's not hostile.
Right. Unearthed quote. And we have a video coming up here shortly of another unearthed video. And my question is, we all watched Conclave, which I know you're going to congratulate me for having seen a movie that...
Oh, wow. That's not even a year old yet.
No, it's only... Yeah,
wow.
it's only a year old. Yeah.
Thank you. It's my big highlight of the week.
Congratulations.
So you got that. There's no internet in there, huh? Nobody's Googling, saying, wait a minute, who's this running? And one of the Cardinals is looking up, what did you say back in 2012? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How do you do your research on the fly? You either go in knowing everything about all of the candidates,
right,
or you're screwed, I guess, as a voter.
Yeah, I would say so.
Which may have worked to the benefit here. You talked about the gay community. Is this a snub of the pride flag? There's been debate if this is even a pride flag. It's more of a peace flag. Watch here. He turns his back. Okay. This is, I think, yesterday. Okay, now
it was just yesterday.
Look at this.
And everybody's showing him the pride flag.
He's making sure that he doesn't turn around till he's long past it. Okay, now I can look to my left again.
That's interesting. Oh, wow.
Wasn't that fun? That was fun.
Yeah, go through that one more time.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
That's pretty interesting. Now that we know what we're looking for, watch this.
He sees it coming.
You be the judge.
He could see it coming out of the corner of his eye.
Or he might have just
see, he could double
total
take.
Coincidence.
He did a double take.
I mean, what do you want him to do with the flag, really?
Bless it. I bet that's what they wanted. They wanted it to be blessed.
Yeah,
exactly.
Something.
But that was a double take.
Good for him.
Good for him.
I mean, that's a classy move.
Yes.
And that way... I'm sorry, I didn't see it, or...
But what was so striking is he does this
Yeah, he does that.
It's a double thing, and he's like, I'm going to be over on the right for a long time. Watch this. Watch his head go twice. Hang on. And now we're going to stay over here.
Yeah, I'm not going to hang out with your flag. All right? Okay. Yeah, I got some hands to shake over here.
All right. I think we're clear. Okay, now I can turn back to the left. Okay, so now this is a 2012 video. Doesn't include the quote that you just spoke, but I think it's very fascinating nonetheless.
All right.
Certainly you cannot just take at face value what's offered in today's society by mass media. And I think personally that the answer, rather than turning away, is in the area of formation. How do we teach people to become critical thinkers? How do we teach people to understand that not everything you hear or everything you read should be taken at face value? And how do we come to give people the formation that they need to read something or to hear something and to be able to discern, if you will, to understand that underlying the message that's being communicated is a very different message or a very subtle message that has severe consequences for the future of society, let's say, that can or cannot be understood as a part of a much bigger picture, if you will. I began reflecting on this topic myself because of having lived outside the United States now for a number of years. And then when I would go back to the United States and perhaps just watch a TV show at random or visiting friends or relatives, seeing the change that has taken place in the kinds of content that are in sitcoms, that are spoken about on your regular TV programs, even on news shows, the kinds of messages that seem to be portrayed, the slant that is taken at times in whichever direction, the kinds of even polemical argumentation that is presented on TV in the United States. Following through with that, I think it's not just the United States. We find that a lot in the Western world, and it changes from place to place depending where you are. After giving my intervention, an Italian came to speak to me about it and said, well, he didn't agree with what I said. For example, the mention of abortion. He said, we don't talk about that in Italy. And I said, well, maybe you don't in Italy, but we certainly do in other parts of the Western world. But then he came up himself with other examples of how the media has been used in Italy to present certain kinds of arguments, certain political questions that in the same way, if you control the media, you can at least partially control the way people are thinking, because that's the message that people hear constantly. So again, I think our real challenge is in formation. Our challenge is in preparing people to become critical thinkers and to understand what's going on in the world around us today.
Okay, so this is a story that was originally done on the Catholic News Service, October 2012, and I'm just scanning through an article here that has a screen capture from that video, and not in that clip, but listen to this. This is Pope Leo talking back in 2012. Note, for example, how alternative families comprised of homosexual partners and their adopted children are so benignly and sympathetically portrayed on television programs and in cinema.
So that's apparently what he was just talking about here.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
he
a larger
say it
context.
Specifically, but
apparently
that's what he's talking
elsewhere
about.
in the interview he did.
Yeah.
The sympathy for anti-Christian lifestyle choices that the mass media fosters is so brilliantly and artfully ingrained. I mean, my goodness.
Yes, that's interesting.
That's very interesting, and he's clearly talking about the ABC show Modern Family.
Well, I will say this. I just saw yesterday that he's apparently a registered Republican in Chicago.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Well, there's a wasted
Republican.
vote, first
he
of all.
clearly doesn't like Donald Trump. But he's apparently, and that's surprising to me, that he's a Republican, I guess. That's according to...
Very interesting.
Yeah. According to an insider, somebody who knows him. Interesting. But they say... Glenn was talking to somebody the other day. Let's see. LifeSite News CEO and co-founder John Henry Weston said that one of the things we should look for with Pope Leo and to see his ideology is whether or not he reinstates Bishop Joseph Strickland, who was removed from office by Pope Francis because Strickland was pretty outspoken about the Pope and opposed all the liberalism, the progressivism that was creeping in. And so he got removed. So we'll see if he gets put back. He said to be watching for that because that would tell you a lot if he puts him back in office.
If he puts him back in, it's a good thing.
Yep.
If he doesn't, then we're back to Francis.
And we were concerned because he was one of the last people to meet with the Pope before he was defrocked, the guy in Texas.
Right.
So maybe he was in their defense. We don't know.
Interesting. Very
Sounds
interesting.
like the movie Conclave.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? All right. I've been raving about the Jace case, an emergency antibiotic kit shipped directly to you for preparedness. Been talking about it for years now. It's a must-have for unexpected situations when you can't access meds. Well, they've just launched an upgraded version, doubling the medication from 5 to 10. So,
all right.
Went from this size to this size. Okay, that's cool.
That is cool.
That's great. So it'll make it the most comprehensive emergency kit on the market, and it's only $20 more. Everyone should have this on hand. Shortages, supply chain delays, or natural disasters can strike at any time and leave you without access to critical prescriptions. So you'll be ready for this before you need it. This kit ensures peace of mind for you and your family in any crisis. Order now at jace.com. Use the promo code PAT, P-A-T, at checkout, and you'll get a discount on your order. That's promo code PAT for savings on the best emergency medication kit available. Don't wait until it's too late. Get your Jace case today. Jace.com, Jase.com.
Like what you hear? Listen to more at youtube.com/Pat Gray.
I love when you do that, by the way. I really do.
All right.
And the audience, he does that a lot. He does that a lot.
Usually off air, but
yes,
every once in a while it spills over. All right, we got a fun video here.
Well, yeah, I mean, you like talking babies.
I love
it's
talking
all
babies.
The rage now.
Sure is.
Yeah.
Ever since that the baby podcast with the dog.
But I'm afraid we're going to push it too far. And
Probably,
Pat's
yes.
going to freaking...
Well, we
almost
always
there.
do. So we're getting very close.
Yeah.
But, Trump and Biden have been debating each other for a lot longer than most people think.
Yeah.
A lot longer.
Longer.
Here was one of their first debates.
There are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, We had the safest border in the history of our country.
That $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America. And what's happening?
You can never get it right,
situation
even as a
where
baby.
They, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%.
Excuse me, 25%.
They'd raise $500 million.
No,
$billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do.
Yep. So great.
Ooh, so he's had that lifelong stuttering problem,
Yeah,
see?
yeah. And it started as a baby. He's also had the number problem since he was a baby.
Yeah.
So
Poor
the presidential baby debate, how many times? I haven't seen that until now. I don't remember seeing it years ago. Of course, I wasn't born yet when they did that first debate, so that's probably why.
Yeah, those two go back.
They
They've
go
been
back.
button heads for a while.
A long time.
For a while.
I love how every number he said was wrong. So it's so weird because I was just telling my family this the other day that because I don't know, some clip came up about him, and I said the biggest problem he has is whatever is wrong with his brain has really affected the numbers section of his brain, and he can't get them right at all. And it's interesting because every single number was wrong, every one of them. And it doesn't matter if there's a teleprompter with the line in it, with the number in it, doesn't matter. He still gets it wrong. It's really weird. It's a weird situation. But I'm glad he's not in the Oval Office anymore, so we don't really have to worry about it. It's so great.
I give you my word as a Biden.
And you know that means a lot.
That's
his word as a Biden, you kidding me?
Carries a lot of weight.
Ooh-wee.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
Okay. There's that. All right. 888-727-BECK. No, that's Glenn's number down the hall. There's another one for you right there.
Wait, was
that last week? Dang it!
That was last week.
I thought I nailed one.
That was a bingo square a week ago. Yep.
All right, well, fill it out on last week's form.
Okay, got it.
And it won't help you any, but it'll just be fun. You'll be able to say, hey, I found another one. Got another one right there. All right, 888-933-93. More of this show, Pat Gray Unleashed, coming up.
Pat Gray Unleashed.
Great to have you with us. 888-933-93. Pat Unleashed on Twitter. We're going to talk to Eric Swithin from a movie that is called Show Me Your Glory. It's about miracles. We're going to talk to Eric in just a minute about his movie, but here's a sneak peek at it.
Since the beginning of time, supernatural events have taken place.
This kind of data has been recorded carefully.
We've got hundreds of millions of people around the world claiming that they've seen miracles.
The feeling was beyond anything I've ever felt before.
When the supernatural crashes into human suffering,
I cannot explain that.
Everything changes.
Not only is it coming soon, it's coming today. All right. Comes to theaters, starts today, and it goes through Thursday?
Thursday, yes, sir.
Okay. So Eric joins us now. Eric Swithin, a ministry leader and responsible for Show Me Your Glory. Eric, welcome.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on.
So tell us, what inspired you to create this movie?
Well, 20 years of wrestling with God over the toughest questions that we have, like human suffering. I was a United States Marine, and what I saw on the battlefield, what I experienced in Iraq, led me to a crisis of faith. And I look around in the world today, and I see tremendous suffering and tremendous evil. And you have to ask the question, well, where is God in all of that? And yet, as a minister, you know, I've personally witnessed miracles. I've seen them with my own eyes. In fact, I've experienced them myself. So then you have to ask the question, well, if God is actually still doing miracles, well, then why doesn't he do more in order to alleviate some of the suffering we see in the world? Why doesn't he say yes more often to our desperate prayers?
And what's the answer to that you give to people?
Well, that is a long answer. There are a lot of answers, especially in our book. It's almost 400 pages. And I felt utterly compelled to share what I have come up with after 20 years of digging and going up the ranks in academia and really genuinely seeking answers and asking God the tough questions. But all in all, one of my favorite things is to have an eternal perspective, right? If this is indeed just a short life of maybe 76 years is the average life expectancy in America for a male, 76 years, not much more for a woman, but we're looking at eternity, then obviously this is the dressing room before the big play. This is the boot camp, right? And if we were to have an eternal perspective, knowing that God is doing something in us that's preparing us for forever, where there is no more evil and suffering, I think that changes how we view suffering dramatically.
It does. Exactly. And that is such an important point, because there are worse things than dying. You know, there are worse things than even the suffering that we go through at times, and we do forget about that. And because we have to go through those things, it's like our spiritual muscles have to be exercised, just like our physical muscles. And so, obviously, there has to be opposites in all things that we can work against and become stronger over time. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What are some of the, can you tell us about some of the miracles that you highlight in the book and the movie?
Absolutely. To be clear, you know, my wife is a recovering lawyer in big oil, and I did investigative work in my younger years. And so we wanted these stories to hold up in a court of law. And we scoured the earth, knowing that there are hundreds of millions of reported miracles today. And having to find ones that could truly be vetted, we landed on 8 stories, and we put them into 3 different categories. The first category are miraculous healings, where we have evidence and we can corroborate evidence enough to withstand the scrutiny of skeptics. And the second category are miraculous encounters with the divine that led to life transformation. And then the third category are those that responded miraculously to their suffering, even though they didn't get the miracle that they prayed for. And so a little bit of a taste that I think people would enjoy. We have a young man that was healed without any medical intervention of severely broken and damaged bones. And there are MRI scans to show the before and after with no medical intervention in between. The only thing in between was prayer. And another great story, one that seems to be people's favorites. It's interesting. We had our red carpet premiere with 350 people present, and everybody seemed to have a favorite story. But this one seemed to rise to the surface more often than others. And that was a Hezbollah terrorist who had literally killed people in the name of Allah, trying to please his Muslim God. And he had a radical encounter with Jesus himself in a Malaysian jail cell. And for the last 30 years, he has spent his time converting Muslims to Christianity.
Wow. Pretty great. Pretty great. It must have been fairly life-altering to be involved with this movie. I mean, you probably believed all of this before, but getting all of the evidence and seeing the proof of people who went through these things, that had to be like testimony strengthening.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the main purposes of the miraculous, is to occasionally remind us, you know, God is stepping outside of the natural order of things. And he's saying, here's a reminder that I can do whatever I want. I'm real. And he's giving us a glimpse into the future of eternity. And keep in mind, I mean, every person that's ever experienced a miracle, apart from Jesus himself, they eventually died and they stayed dead. So even if you get healed of blindness, you're still going to grow old and you may lose your eyesight again and you're going to pass away. So miracles are really just a reminder to us, an encouragement to us that God's real. He's still capable of doing beautiful and wonderful things, but it's more so to say, hey, it's going to be okay in the end.
Eric, I'm not going to give anything away from the movie. I thought it was very well done, but I appreciated the way you showed we don't always get what we're asking for. And if we do receive a miracle, it may not be in the way that we would define it ourselves. Explain the thought process of putting that in there as well.
Well, there's a lot of sides to that coin. You have Rahab in the Bible, who she was a prostitute from a Canaanite outpost, and she sided with and partnered with Israelite spies because she had heard that God parted the Red Sea. She'd heard a testimony. She didn't experience it herself, but she'd heard of the miracle. So she partnered, risked her life. It would have been treason. She would have been killed. And she ended up being a part of the genealogy of Jesus. She was grafted into the Israelites and became a part of Jesus's lineage, right? So at the end of the day, I think that suffering and the miraculous so often lead us closer to God, but it doesn't have to necessarily be us that experiences the miracle. Other people's miracles were designed to encourage us and strengthen us. And then the other side of that is that, yes, we are not always going to receive the miracle that we pray for. It's actually more often than not that we don't. And the question becomes, even though we don't have all the answers, even though it's still cloaked in mystery, is God still with us in our darkest hour? Does he understand? Can he empathize with us? Is he still faithful? Is he still trustworthy? And I think the answer unequivocally is yes, he is. In fact, he's the only God of any religion who rolled up his sleeves and, like a Navy SEAL team being inserted into the heat of battle, he came down here, put on human flesh, and he actually demonstrated the worst kind of human suffering imaginable to show us, not only for our own salvation, but to show us, hey, I get it. I understand what pain looks like.
Eric, where can people go to learn more?
It's a one-stop shop. If you go to showmeyourglory.com, you can find tickets. You can find our book. There's also some free resources on there, a devotional that's very apologetic in nature. It addresses both the head and the heart. There's all kinds of goodies on there. So www.showmeyourglory.com is the place to go.
Can you find what theater near you is showing this too?
Absolutely. When you click on Get Tickets Now, it's going to redirect you to the site where you can select a date, May 13th, 14th, or 15th. And then right above that, there's this little spot you can enter your zip code or your city name, and that's going to populate the closest theaters to you. And I believe we're in somewhere around 1,000 theaters across the nation right now.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's good coverage. All right. Eric Swithin, appreciate it. Thanks a lot. We'll be looking forward to seeing Show Me the Glory. Show Me Your Glory. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, fellas.
All right. Let me tell you about Fast Growing Trees, which, of course, is the largest online nursery in the United States with thousands of plants, over 2 million happy customers, including me. They offer everything your yard needs: fruit trees, privacy, flowering, shrubs, lots more. And no matter what plant you want, they have the perfect fit for your climate and for the space that you have available. Ordering's really easy. You just shop online, and your plants are delivered to your door in a matter of days. No hassle. And they also have an Alive and Thrive guarantee, so that ensures that your plants are going to arrive healthy. Plant experts, always on hand, always on call to help you plan, to help you choose, and help you care for them, because, I know nothing about any of this stuff. So had to turn to the experts, who are the ones who know how to handle and what to do, and what's going to actually thrive in the climate of Texas, which is fires of hell hot most of the time, and then all of a sudden it's freezing Arctic cold for no apparent reason. So what survives that? They're going to know in your area what to set you up with. So this spring, you can score up to half off your select plants and other deals. Plus, our listeners get an extra 15% off their first purchase with the promo code PAT at checkout. So visit fastgrowingtrees.com, use the promo code PAT, and save big. Now's the time to plant your dream yard. The offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply.
Now, more Pat Gray Unleashed.
We got some good breaking news here. Boy, the media's got to hate this. Inflation unexpectedly cooled in April despite Trump's big tariffs announcement. So there you go. Inflation unexpectedly
dropped,
cooled in April, despite all the sky is falling chaos.
So what is it now?
Well, I didn't click the story.
Oh, okay.
My goodness, what are you? Let's see. Okay, the inflation rate unexpectedly cooled. Okay, from 2.4 to 2.3 year to year. Let's see.
Still
in April, from March. Okay.
You know what? Because it's important that we note that considered almost zero inflation is anything under. Is it anything under 3? I think something, or maybe
I know
it's
what you're
2.
talking about. I
Maybe
don't know what
2.
the number is, but I know
because there's always going to be some inflation. There's always going to be 1 to 2%, and so that's pretty close to what's considered no inflation at all. So that's interesting.
And the breaking news are not done. They found a small nodule in Joe Biden's prostate during his latest physical scam.
Ooh, really?
Yes, sir.
Oh, no. Well, so what are they going to do about it?
Oh, you want me to click on the story?
Yeah, you got to click on it. You can't just read the headline. Pat wants answers.
I want information. All right, well,
It's too early to tell how serious it is.
Okay.
So get back to me when.
Yeah.
You say a
What are you
nodule.
telling us about it for then?
Yeah, that's interesting. That since he's a private citizen now, why? It's almost.
What could it be? Because they found another new book that said talks were talked about of a possibility of having him in a wheelchair if he won the 2024 election.
Oh, that's right.
I did not hear this.
People were. That's right.
Remember, we just saw it.
Yeah, we just saw it on the news that I think it was on CNN, in fact, wasn't it?
Sir.
They were saying that one of these new books writes about the staff talking about whether or not they were going to need a wheelchair for him if he won re-election.
Oh, he's going to go FDR, huh?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's how decrepit he was, though, and is. That's how bad it was, and they continued to cover it up.
And we knew that because he changed shoes from dress shoes to the hookah shoes. So we knew that.
So you know that if you go in hookah shoes, then he's in poor shape. Aren't they just comfortable? Don't you have them?
I do have them. Wait, hold up.
How did? I haven't seen. In fairness, I have not seen Chris fall.
Yeah, I haven't either. So they must work.
They do work.
They keep you upright.
That is disabled and my ankles are disabled.
Here we go. I need Jeffy here to roll his eyes right now.
All right, here's some other breaking news. Ken Paxton has just taken the lead in polls over John Cornyn for the Senate race next year. So that's good news, too.
Yeah. And he also retweeted yesterday an old tweet of John Cornyn saying, Cornyn remarked that Trump should not run for president in 2024. Times have passed him by. And so Ken Paxton retweeted that, and he's like,
oh my gosh.
We've got the receipts.
That's great. All right. Let me take just a minute, though, and tell you about Beam Organics, too. Beam is proudly founded here in America, and it's run by people who share our values, hard work, integrity, and delivering results. It's a healthy nighttime blend packed with science-backed ingredients that have shown to improve sleep. So you can wake up refreshed and ready to take on your day. Dream is made with a powerful blend of all-natural ingredients, reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin. It's designed to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up feeling amazing. And unlike other sleep aids, there's no next day grogginess. Have you ever taken things like, I don't know, Ambien or any of those type? Ambien could put me out for like a week and a half, and then I wake up feeling dead. It's
More
like I woke up dead.
Yes.
Right. It's like you don't even realize you've been asleep. You're so groggy. Not with Beam. And Beam is now giving my listeners the ultimate Patriot discount of up to 40% off. You can try their best-selling Dream Powder and get 40% off for a limited time. Go to shopbeam.com/Pat. Promo code PAT at checkout. That's shop, BEAM, shopbeam.com/Pat. Promo code PAT for up to 40% off. You'll sleep better, you'll wake up stronger, and you'll show up ready for your family, for your work, and for your country. Because when you're well rested, you're unstoppable. And this country needs more people like that.
This is Pat Gray Unleashed.
All right. I want to play this this little clip from Charles Barkley because we've been hearing so much about Stephen A. Smith running for president. ESPN Stephen A. Smith. And he's playing right into it. He is, people are telling him all the time he needs to run for president. So Charles Barkley was on a podcast yesterday. And was asked about it. Here were his thoughts.
Hey, Stephen A. Smith got a shot to be president?
Hell no.
Hell no.
Come on, stop it.
Stop it.
Come on. Trump did?
Hey, Dan, knock it off right now. Stop it. Come on, man. Don't do that. Don't do that. Stephen A.
Hey, he's on a tour. He's on the tour. He is on the tour that they all want to be. Meet the Press, Fox and Friends, MSNBC. He's on the presidential media tour at this point.
True.
Stephen A. is a friend of mine, but he needs to stop right now.
Thank you, Charles.
To stop. My friends close to me give me a lot of credit, and I'm not blowing my own horn. I want to be on TV as less as possible, to be honest with you, Dan. That's why I only do a couple commercials a year. I don't go on a bunch of shows. Less is more. Because the more you do, the less people take you serious. And I don't feel the need to grab every dime. I don't feel the need to grab every dime at my disposal. Like I've been arguing with my agent. He says, we could do 5 to 7 commercials a year. I said, we're going to do 2 commercials a year. That's it. I don't want to be on TV all the time. I get sick of seeing myself doing March Madness, but I don't want to be on TV all the time. And I don't do a bunch of TV stuff because I don't want to, because people get sick of you. That's my number one thing. People will get sick on you. So I don't want to be on TV more. I want to be on TV less.
I don't think that's the Stephen A. Smith method right now. I don't think that's his mentality, Charles.
That's not, as a matter of fact, I was in the studio last night, and I see he's going to be on Law and Order tonight.
Oh, wow. What? Law and Order?
He's already on General Hospital. He's already on General Hospital. Now he's going to be on Law and Order tonight. And I was just laughing. I'm like, yo, man, you're starting to be too much right now. Like, you're going to be on CNN. You're going to be on Fox and Friends. Now you're on General Hospital. Now you're on Law and Order. I'm like, yo, man, knock it off. Stop being on every TV show. Because at some point, people are going to regret. They're going to get sick of you. And you're going to be like, yeah, I probably did too much. But once you do too much, it's too late.
Yeah.
And then people don't take you serious.
Right.
And I think he's got to be careful in that aspect.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, that's good advice from Chuck. That's just really good advice. And I love how open he is. I mean, you're not going to get Charles Barkley hedging his bet and beating around the bush. He's going to tell you what he thinks. And come on, stop it. Stop it right now.
So does that mean that Stephen A. Smith is going to come on Pat Gray Unleashed because he's everywhere?
I
make it happen.
Do we need to contact him? Because obviously he wants to be everywhere.
Yeah, he's trying to expand his base. I will say, speaking of the NBA and all things around it, did you see that the Dallas Mavericks got the number 1 pick last night in the lottery?
I did see that.
Had a 1.8% chance of getting that.
Only a 1.8% chance?
That's right, Pat.
Holy cow.
So the original conspiracy was that the local ownership or the ownership of the Dallas Mavericks traded Luka away so that they could tank the franchise and move him to Vegas. Now the new conspiracy is that the NBA forced or I guess somehow forced the Mavericks to trade Luka to a huge market like Los Angeles, make Luka a Laker, in
and then they get
for
the
number one pick.
round pick.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know, man. I'm just telling you what the people
So
are
obviously
saying.
they're going to get Cooper Flag.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And I mean, I put a poll on Twitter last night, which is more scripted, the
that kid is
NBA
good.
or the WWE. NBA 64-36, more scripted. Based on the votes.
Really?
So I'm guessing what you guys just said, that's good for the Mavs.
That would be really good for the Mavs.
Cooper Flag, yeah.
Yeah. Cooper Flag's, I mean, he's a freshman, and he scored, I don't know, what did he score, 18, 20 points a game this year for Duke?
Wow.
Yeah, he was really good. He's really good. He's very athletic, good shooter. Get to the basket. 19.2 points per game. So
how do you get how do you get 0.2 points?
Well, it's because it's an average. It's an average.
I will. Although I'm tempted to step in here, it's math, and I better just defer to Pat. One other piece of good news: the EPA, Lee Zeldin, great news yesterday, saying we're getting rid of those because I have the engines that restart at the red lights
at the stoplight.
I feel so much embarrassment for the person sitting next to me when you hear their car crank up when it's time to go.
Yeah,
that's going to be a thing of the past under the Trump EPA.
Is it really? Good. That always freaks me out in my wife's car when it just stops.
It's so
just
weird.
Dead.
It's not
like,
good,
wait,
man.
What? That can't be good, right?
skips,
To have to restart the thing again?
Well, it doesn't idle and pollute the earth.
Right. So ridiculous. All right, we got overtime coming up. See you back here tomorrow.
This is Pat Gray Unleashed.